Good afternoon and good morning to some, to everyone. We thank you very much for joining us for the Partnership's National Webinar Series. And let's think about this for a moment. The Community Action Network has been on the front lines of the war of poverty for over 52 years. Really, there's a war on poverty, or the poor, as it were. And given that this war exists, it's important that we continue to come up with innovative or promising strategies that allow us to address the complexities of poverty more effectively as a network. As a result, the Learning Communities Resource Center is here for the Community Action Network to build its capacity so that it might fight poverty more effectively and improve outcomes for families and for communities. A key thing for us to know, as we are the anti-poverty people, anti-poverty work is at the heart of who we are and what we do as a network, is that money matters. Money matters. And so we can't talk about poverty and not talk about financial capability. And so it's one thing for members of our communities, our families, our communities to be able to obtain jobs and skills that would increase their resources, and then it's another for them to have the tools and support so that they can make the most of those resources so that those funds can be leveraged and go the extra mile for them. With that in mind, we have Jeannie Chaffin's voice in the background saying to us, as a network, we must continue to be focused on the right issues to address poverty today, and we must be in tune with these issues so that we can create the right strategies. And so the partnership has had the wonderful opportunity to partner with some important partners who bring some expertise that I think, or that we think, take our work to another level. And we are joined today by an important partner, the U.S. Treasury, who has launched an initiative called myRA, which gives agencies tools to help those families who are wanting to maximize their resources, and particularly for the long term looking towards retirement and other investment possibilities. And so it is my pleasure to welcome them to us today. And before we start even, we must take a moment to pause and given everything that we know about who we are and what we do, and even what I've said already today, I'd like for us to take a moment to say to ourselves the community action promise. And it is: community action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, improves communities, and makes America a better place to live. We care about the entire community, and we are dedicated to helping people help themselves and each other. And so I am pleased to introduce our presenter for today, Sherry Johnson. Sherry is the Deputy Bureau Director for the U.S. Treasury's myRA program, and she is going to tell us a little bit more about herself and her work, and also tell us about the wonderful, wonderful opportunities that the U.S. Treasury has to offer through the myRA program for our agencies and, as I said before, for the families that we serve. Sherry?
Hello, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. As she mentioned, I'm Sherry Johnson. I'm the Deputy Bureau Director for myRA. I have extensive federal experience. I have a 20-year career really dedicating my career to public service, and I'm very pleased to be with you here today to talk about a new retirement savings account program from the U.S. Treasury that we believe can really help people start saving for the future. But before I get started, let's take a quick poll. We'd really like to know how many of you have heard about myRA before today's event. And if you look at the side of your screen in the webinar, there's a way to vote, and I'll give you guys a couple seconds to vote before I continue with my presentation. There'll be about a minute or so that you'll be able to vote, and then I'll move forward with my presentation. So if you could take a look at that question on the side of your webinar, on the right side of your webinar, and vote yes or no. That way we get more information about our audience and how far we're reaching in terms of promoting the myRA program. Just a couple more seconds that you have to vote. All right, and actually the results are already in. So a little more than half of you have already heard of this program, and a little less than half of you have not. So I'm really thrilled to be sharing the information about myRA. There's going to be a lot of great information about the program. And first I'm going to take a look at the retirement savings landscape and the challenges people encounter to saving. Then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myRA so you have a better idea about who the program was developed for and how it works. And finally, I'm going to tell you the simple steps that you can take to get involved. You'll have a chance to ask questions at the end of my presentation. Some of the most startling things I learned when I first joined the myRA program were the really interesting statistics on retirement savings behavior across the country. Millions and millions of people in America are not saving for retirement. According to a 2015 Federal Reserve report, 31% of non-retired individuals said they have no retirement savings or pension whatsoever. And when we dig a little deeper, we find a major contributor to this is a lack of access to retirement savings plans at work. Employer-sponsored retirement savings plans are typically a major catalyst for saving. But not all employees have the benefit of having access to a retirement plan at work. And this can put some workers at a disadvantage when it comes to saving for retirement. In fact, those who work for small businesses or hold part-time, temporary, or seasonal or contract jobs, are self-employed, work multiple jobs, are young adults getting started in their careers, or people who are employed in certain industries such as retail or leisure and hospitality don't always have access to retirement plans at work. The lack of access to employer-sponsored retirement plans is not the only obstacle when it comes to saving for retirement. There are other challenges that keep people from saving, including the cost of opening a retirement savings account. Also, some people are intimidated by the wide range of savings options that may be available to them and the potentially complex choices they need to make when it comes to investing their money. People are often worried about losing the money they invest. And many times, people are afraid they won't be able to access the funds they invest or are saving in the event of emergency or an unexpected expense. Well, I've got really great news for anyone who's ever encountered these obstacles or just isn't sure how to start saving. myRA is a new retirement savings account offered by the U.S. Treasury that can remove some of these common barriers and simplify saving for retirement. myRA is a starter retirement savings option that helps people get one step closer to making sure they have a secure retirement. And the best part about myRA is it's simple, safe, and affordable. I'll explain a little bit more about that in just a moment. But first, I want to take you back to a very important point. You'll recall that I gave you some startling statistics on retirement savings behavior and some of the people who are affected by not having access to a retirement plan and the challenges of saving for retirement. Well, myRA is for them. It was developed for those who don't have access to a retirement savings plan at work. Either their company doesn't have one as part of their benefits package, or they aren't eligible for their company's plan. myRA is for people who want to start saving but aren't really sure where to begin. If you don't have access to a retirement savings plan at work and you haven't found a way to start saving and you earn less than $132,000 as a single taxpayer or less than $194,000 as a married taxpayer filing jointly, then myRA is for you because it's intended to help people develop a savings habit, build up some savings, and then move into a private sector savings account to keep their savings growing. I want to be clear, though, myRA is not a replacement for an employer-sponsored plan. People who have access to a plan through work should use it if they can. myRA is really meant for those who don't have access to such a plan. Let me get a little bit more specific on myRA and how the investments work. myRA is a Roth IRA, so it follows all the same rules and has the same tax advantages of a Roth IRA. Contributions are invested in a new Treasury savings bond that earns interest at the same rate as investments in the government securities fund available to federal employees. You can choose to transfer or roll over a myRA account into a private sector Roth IRA at any time. myRA is meant to be a starter savings account. myRA accounts can have a maximum account balance of $15,000 or a lower balance for up to 30 years. When either of those limits is reached, the savings will be transferred into a private sector Roth IRA. Now, just a moment ago, I touted myRA as a simple, safe, and affordable program, and here's why. A myRA account can be opened in a matter of just simple minutes, online or by phone. You can set up automatic contributions, so you can set that once and the contribution goes in that time, or you can set recurring contributions and completely forget about it. The account follows the individual and not their employer. And if an account holder needs access to the money they put into the account, they can withdraw it without tax or penalties at any time. The account carries no risk of losing money, and it's backed by the U.S. Treasury. There's no cost to open or maintain the account. There's no minimum balance or contribution requirements, and savers can choose how much to save, whatever fits their budget. At this point, it seems like for those who don't have access to a retirement savings account and haven't figured out how to start one, it just can't get any better. Well, actually, it does. myRA recently added expanded funding options that make myRA more accessible than ever. Initially, people could open a myRA account and fund it from their paycheck by a direct deposit, but now there are 3 ways to contribute to the account. You can contribute from a paycheck by setting up automatic direct deposit to myRA from your employer, as you've already been able to do for the past year. You can fund your myRA account from a checking or savings account. Savers can set up recurring or one-time contributions from these accounts or any other type of personal account. Or you can use a federal tax refund. At tax time, savers can direct all or part of their federal tax refund to myRA. For some of us, saving for retirement isn't a new concept. It isn't something that we're not familiar with or haven't already started doing. But for some, it's particularly challenging. And if you really think about it, you probably know someone who could benefit from a program like myRA. Think about a neighbor who just reached a major milestone by finishing a master's degree. She hasn't found a full-time job yet, so she waits tables at a local restaurant, and she offers dog walking services to people she knows. She wants to take steps towards securing her financial future, so she opens a myRA account and transfers a small amount from her checking account 3 to 4 times a month. Since she doesn't have access to an employer-sponsored account, myRA is perfect for her. And she's started her path to securing a financial future. She's one of those 31% of working individuals who, before myRA, had no retirement savings whatsoever. You can think about a stay-at-home mom whose children are a little older now, so she's decided to go into part-time work. Since she's part-time, she's not eligible for her company's retirement savings program, but myRA fits her needs. She opens an account, sets up recurring direct deposit from her paycheck, and she, too, has now taken the first step to build her retirement savings plan. So for people like this, myRA is a great way to start saving for retirement. And we're very pleased that early feedback from some of our savers who use myRA has been very, very positive. Take Jada, for example. She's a young professional at a small business that isn't able to offer a retirement plan, so the access was critical for her. She said the ability to access her contributions if needed was a big selling point for her. Because the money comes out before she even sees it, she says, she never misses it. Another great example is Audrey. She works at a DC grocery store, and she liked that the account was free to open and had no fees. She said, if there's something available that is free and helps me, why not? The ease of the sign-in process, which she said took her 6 minutes total, was something that she also liked. That's something we've heard from many of our early enrollees. We've been successful at making that first step of signing up online quick and easy. This is Lakeisha, a store manager with Easy Mart convenience stores, one of the larger employers to share myRA with its employees this past year. EasyMart has lots of part-time employees who aren't eligible for a company retirement plan. myRA was a good fit for Lakeisha. She has a family, which she said made her want to do something to prepare for the future. Like others, the flexibility to choose her own contribution amount and knowing she couldn't lose what she put into the account was key for her. Like I said, we've had some real success with some of our savers in the program and a lot of good testimonials that are very positive. But myRA relies on partner organizations to help us spread the word about myRA among savers and employers. We've developed myRA messaging and materials to make it really easy for you to include myRA in your existing communications. Here are some examples of what a few of our many partners we've worked with in the past have done. The Women's Institute for a Secure Retirement developed an original flyer, 10 Reasons to Say Yes to myRA. The Corporation for Enterprise Development added a blurb and link to the myRA website to their resources page. America Saves wrote a blog post to show its support, and so did American Payroll Association. We really hope that you'll join us in sharing information about myRA with your networks. There are a number of ways you can get involved and help us spread the word about myRA. You can distribute electronic or printed copies of myRA materials. You can share myRA information on your social media channels. You can include myRA in your speaking engagements. You can help direct visitors to your web pages to the myra.gov website simply by adding a link on your web page. You can highlight myRA in your newsletters and other communications. You can attend U.S. Treasury events about myRA. And you can tell other organizations in your network about myRA and encourage them to get involved. And of course, if you know success stories related to myRA, someone who has started saving or helped someone start save with myRA, we'd love to hear those stories. The myRA website was recently revamped to make it easier for people to find information about myRA and sign up. Take a moment and visit myra.gov to check out the various resources available. You'll find materials on the website that you can share in the Partners section. Individuals can get their questions answered by browsing the Frequently Asked Questions section. And the website leads seamlessly into the sign-up process for potential savers. As I mentioned, there are free resources on myra.gov such as brochures, a poster, and videos that make it really easy for you to share myRA information. There's also a toolkit that employers can use to share information with their employees. And there are several materials and a page on the website in Spanish. So what's next? We really encourage you to join us in spreading the word about myRA and really helping people to prepare for securing their financial future in their retirement. You can do this at any time of the year, but we've identified some key times and themes that we think will resonate with the myRA audience. Ideally, you probably already have been planning to do something around some sort of these themes, some of them, and myRA can easily fit into your existing efforts. We encourage you to join us with relevant partnerships and outreach at these times. Watch our newsletter for tips and things you can use, like suggested tweets or customized assets or messages. Watch for more, and please feel free to come to us with your ideas and how we might work better together to spread the word about myRA. Here are another couple poll questions that we'd like to ask you now that you've heard a little bit more about myRA. How likely are you to share myRA information with your clients? And the options are very likely, somewhat likely, unlikely, or very unlikely. And how will you share myRA information with your clients? In person, an email you send to an individual client, email blast, social media, permanent link on the website, or all of the above. We'll have these poll questions available on the right side of your screen as part of the webinar. You'll see them now, and I'll give you a couple of minutes to answer those questions. Well, actually, a couple seconds is more like it. Again, if you look at the right side of your screen as part of the webinar, we have a couple of questions we'd like you to answer now that you've heard a little bit more about the myRA program. We'd love to know how likely you are to share myRA information with your clients and how you'll share this information with your clients. To learn more about myRA, you can visit us at myra.gov. And to become a participating partner organization, you can call us at 844-874-7590, or you can email us at myraemployers@ stls.frb.org. Thank you so much for your time today. We really look forward to your support and hope to work together to help more people start saving for their future. At this point, we'll open it for questions, and I'm happy to answer anything you might have regarding the program.
Thank you again, Sherry. And just to kick off our questions, one is, can you talk a little bit more about what happens when a person is ready to move their funds from the myRA account? Are there penalties, or are there penalties, and in general, how does that process work?
Absolutely. That's an excellent question, and thank you for asking. Actually, when a client is ready to roll their myRA account over into another private Roth IRA, there are no penalties, and they can make that transfer or rollover at any time, as long as it's into another private Roth IRA. There's no penalties, there's no time frame, there's no age requirement. The only limit is you have to roll the account over once it reaches $15,000 or 30 years. You can roll the account over at any time before that, and there's no penalties or anything like that.
Gotcha. So in essence, you can roll over from a Roth IRA to another Roth IRA, and then you have a 30-year time limit or a $15,000 limit?
For myRA, you have the $15,000 limit in the 30 years. Then you reach that, you roll it over into a private Roth IRA. Or you don't even have to wait until you reach the $15,000 or the 30 years. You can roll it over to another private Roth IRA at any time, but that limitation applies specifically to the myRA account.
Thank you.
Sherry, we did get another question about if someone has a retirement account of any type, does that mean that they would be ineligible for myRA?
Absolutely not. You are still eligible to open a myRA account at any time as long as you meet the income limitations that I discussed earlier. So even if you have another retirement account, you can still open a myRA account as long as you don't make more than $132,000 as a single taxpayer, and I think it was $184,000 as a married filing jointly taxpayer. $193,000, I'm sorry. You can still open a myRA account.
And then we got another question about withdrawing the money. I think one of the client stories that you told talked about withdrawing funds. So we had a question about whether money can be withdrawn for any reason.
Absolutely. You can withdraw any money that you contribute to myRA, that is the contributions that you put into the account at any time without penalty or taxes. Not the interest, but the money that you put into the myRA account at any time without penalty or taxes. And that's one of the great things about myRA.
We had another question regarding working with clients who may be undocumented, whether they would be eligible for myRA.
Absolutely. Actually, you can open a myRA account by using an ITIN number. You just have to call customer service to help you open that account.
Okay, great. So keep sending in your questions through the chat box and the Q&A window.
And while people are thinking about additional questions, another question is, were you able to speak about how investments might be directed? So, for example, you have a myRA account. Are you able to designate how your funds are invested so that your retirement dollars will grow?
Actually, the investments made into the myRA account are invested to the U.S. Treasury securities bond. So that's how the investments are invested. And actually, it's designed to be a safe and stable way for investors to grow their money. But that's the option for the investment. That's where the investments are directed.
Excellent.
We had a follow-up question about withdrawing funds, whether there was a limit on how often you could withdraw funds, and thinking about how that may coincide with the tax year and tax refunds, et cetera.
Well, actually, I don't see anything about a limit for withdrawing them. So one thing that's important to keep in mind is there's a limit for how much you contribute, and that's per the IRA federal guidelines. But in terms of withdrawing your money, I could follow up to answer that question, but I don't see anything about a limit for withdrawing the funds, no.
And is it possible for you to talk more about why this opportunity is especially important for low-income families?
Absolutely. It's really important because there's no minimum contribution amount. There's no amount required to open the account, and there are no fees to maintain the account. Most importantly, you can contribute whatever you can afford to your account, however frequently fits into your budget. This is really important because with low-income families, you want to be able to fit this into your budget in such a way that you're not impacting other areas where you spend money. The fact that you can designate your own amount and there's no minimum contribution requirements or fees, I think is a very attractive option for low-income families who'd like to use myRA to start saving for their retirement and securing their financial future.
And so is it possible for you to talk about any of the tools or calculators that you may have available to give families a picture of what the potential impact might be for the long term, but also on their immediate bottom line? So for a lot of our families, they are truly concerned about what's going to happen today or you know, this week regarding their cash flow. Are there tools that kind of help to kind of support that thought process for them as they're making this kind of decision?
Absolutely. There are a number of tools on myRA.gov website that can be useful in helping families plan and determine how much they'd like to save. The idea here is really their long-term goal of saving and making sure they have a secure retirement. And that's the long-term way to think about it. And again, there are lots of tools on myRA.gov that can help them kind of think this process through.
Thank you very much. And so are there any additional questions?
There was another question about tax refunds, if you can put your tax refund towards a myRA account.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can select, when you're filing for your tax refund, you can select savings account as a way of receiving your federal refund, and you would put in your myRA account and routing information there, and your tax refund will be directed there. You can direct all or some of your tax refund to your myRA account, but absolutely, you can certainly use your tax refund to contribute to your myRA account. Keep in mind, however, that you do have the contribution limitations for every year for the account that you cannot exceed. So keep that in mind when you're contributing your tax refund.
And so speaking about the tax refund piece of it, many of our agencies work with the VITA program to help families with their tax preparation. Are there any unique or special, I guess, insights or resources that you would direct those sites towards so that they can sort of leverage the opportunities that the VITA program provides along with the myRA program?
Absolutely. We do a lot of work with the VITA sites, and I would certainly direct all of them to the myRA.gov website. Additionally, I'm happy to provide my contact information so that if they need a particular resource that would help them with their clients, I'm happy to direct them in that direction. I can be reached at Sherry, SHERRI, .Johnson, JOHNSON, @treasury.gov.
Well, Sherry, we thank you very much for sharing with us today. And We hope that for those of you who are able to listen to today's presentation, you'll have a chance to go to myRA.gov to learn more, to explore their tools and resources for the benefit of your customers or maybe for yourselves, who knows. And so very quickly, we would like to point your attention to some upcoming events here at the partnership through the Learning Communities Resource Center. We have another national webinar presentation scheduled for April the 19th, and this presentation will focus on two-generation resources, and this presentation will be facilitated by ICF International, and really the whole notion of two-generation approaches says that as we are seeking to move children and families out of poverty, that's done most effectively and most efficiently by taking that holistic approach. And so they will share a wealth of research and insight regarding tools and resources that are available to build our capacity as a network in this regard. Additionally, we have another presentation coming up the very next day, Tools and Strategies for Helping Children and Clients Build Financial Capability. This is April, and April is Financial Capability Month, and we have joined with both the U.S. Treasury through the myRA program as well as CFDD to promote this whole notion of financial empowerment or financial capability. And so our partners from CFDD will be sharing more about an integrated services guide that they have put together through OCS, and we'll be sharing some practical agency examples on how financial empowerment or financial capability tools can be used to elevate the family's overall status as they are looking to move out of poverty and find their way to a thriving reality. So this concludes our webinar today. If you have questions about anything that we have discussed in today's presentation, feel free to contact us. Our information is available here. I was joined today by Learning Communities Resource Center team members in the production role by my colleague Hyacinth McKinley and my colleague Natalie Kramer. And we thank you for all of the wonderful things that you do for families on a daily basis. Also, we want to thank you again, Sherry, and thanks to the U.S. Treasury for taking the time out to share with us today. As you leave today's presentation, we ask that you would just take a few additional moments to complete the survey to let us know what you thought and how we might help you better going forward. Thank you, and make it a great day.